You never forget the sound of a military base at night, the distant thump of helicopters settling on their pads, the hum of generators trembling through metal walkways, the echo of boots on concrete. It's a world that never truly sleeps, even when the sky turns black and the floodlights flicker like stars made by human hands. On nights like that, quiet, cold, humming with electricity, truth has a way of exposing itself. This story happened on one such night. It begins with a Marine captain walking across the training compound to check on a cross-branch joint readiness exercise. It ends with 282 Navy SEALs standing in stunned silence as justice, long ignored, finally demanded to be seen. And in the middle of it all is Captain Mara Ellison, calm, disciplined, respected, and absolutely nobody's victim. Captain Mara Ellison wasn't the loud type. She was the kind who moved like she had a plan even when she didn't, the kind whose eyes told people to straighten their posture without her saying a word. She had 10 years in the Corps, 2 combat deployments, and the quiet authority of someone who didn't need to raise her voice to get results. The Marines under her command loved her for her fairness. The ones who cut corners feared her for the same reason. Tonight, she wasn't here to supervise anyone. She was crossing the compound to deliver an updated clearance roster requested by Naval Special Warfare Command. A simple administrative task, 10 minutes in and out. No drama, no politics. At least, that's what she believed. Fate had other plans. Naval Special Warfare Training Compound Alpha wasn't designed to look welcoming. It rose like a steel fortress against the night sky. High fences, thick floodlights, shadowy corners where trainees ran quiet drills in the dark. Inside the main hall, 282 SEAL candidates and operators were crammed shoulder to shoulder, watching an ongoing combatives demonstration led by a senior training team. Mara could hear the shouts and impacts through the walls. She exhaled. Just deliver the roster and leave. She stepped inside, and the hall went quiet, not suddenly, but in a slow wave, like a ripple moving across water. Because Captain Mara Ellison wasn't wearing Marpat tonight. She wasn't wearing rank on her chest. She wasn't even wearing a name tape. She'd just come from the gym, plain black PT shirt, hair tied back, hands wrapped for a lifting session she never got to finish. To them, she looked like a civilian inside a SEAL training hall. Mistake number 1, they were instructors. Unfortunately, Chief Petty Officer Rylan Briggs, Petty Officer First Class Devin Crow. Both were known for their attitude, their tempers, their willingness to humiliate trainees for sport, their belief that rank meant power and power meant fear. In a healthier unit, they might have been sidelined, but some commands hide their problems better than others. Briggs spotted Mara first. "Hey!" he barked. "Who the hell let civilians in here?" Mara kept walking toward the front table where the roster needed to be delivered. Crow stepped into her path. "Hey! I'm talking to you. Civilians don't belong back here." Mara gave him a calm, controlled look. "I'm here to deliver a roster to Lieutenant Commander Hale." "Then you hand it to me," Crow snapped, extending a hand he didn't deserve. Her voice stayed flat. "Negative. He asked for it personally." Briggs laughed. "You think you get to tell us negative, sweetheart?" Crow's jaw turned hard. "Say sir when you talk to instructors." Mara blinked once. No fear, no hesitation. "I don't believe I outrank you enough to call you sir." Briggs stepped forward, eyes narrow, breath sharp with anger. "Get on your knees," he growled. The room went silent. Even the 282 SEALs, battle-hardened, disciplined, shifted uncomfortably. Something about the order was wrong, too personal, too aggressive, too often repeated. Whispered rumors said, "Kneel," Briggs commanded again. "Right now. You come into our hall, you show respect." Mara kept her hands at her sides. "I don't kneel for bullies." Crow's face twisted. Briggs snarled. And then, they kicked her. Briggs swung first, a sudden dirty side kick meant to send her crashing down. She didn't see it coming. It hit her hip bone, hard. Her legs buckled and she hit the floor with a sharp grunt. Crow stepped in and kicked her shoulder, forcing her onto hands and knees. "You hear the words now?" he mocked. "Kneel before me." Laughter rose from the small circle of toxic instructors near them, but not from the others. Not from the trainees, the operators, the seasoned SEALs who watched with tightening jaws and shifting eyes. Something was wrong. This wasn't discipline. This was ego. This was power abuse. This was a line being crossed, and everyone knew it. Briggs leaned in, voice thick with arrogance. Next time, learn your place. Mara raised her head slowly. Her eyes were calm. Dead. Calm. And that was their last warning. Mara Ellison wasn't just a Marine captain. She wasn't just a company commander. Before being commissioned, she'd spent 5 years enlisted in Marine Special Operations. MARSOC. She had broken men twice their size. She had survived conditions that would make most people fold. She had trained with teams that specialized in ending fights before they started, but she never bragged, never boasted, never led with violence, unless violence was the only remaining option. Tonight, she gave them one chance to walk away. They didn't take it. Crow grabbed her shoulder. "Stay down!" She moved. Fast. She twisted up from her kneeling position, captured his wrist, and rotated her body with perfect precision. Crack! His radius snapped like a dry branch. He screamed as she used his momentum to flip him onto his back with a chest-rattling thud. Briggs lunged. She didn't retreat. She stepped into his attack, slammed her knee into his thigh, and followed it with a heel stomp to his knee joint. Pop! Briggs collapsed, roaring in pain. Crow tried to rise. She pivoted, swept his good leg, and drove her elbow down across his patella. Crunch. 2 legs. 2 breaks. 2 men who would never forget this night. The hall exploded, not with chaos, but with stunned silence. Seals stared at her like they'd just witnessed nature rewriting itself. Some mouths hung open. Some eyes widened. Some stood straighter, respect blooming instantly, because they saw what the instructors didn't. Her technique was perfect, controlled, measured, professional. She hadn't lost control. She had taken control, and then she stopped, hands up, palms open, breathing steady, showing she wasn't the aggressor. They were. Lieutenant Commander Hale pushed through the crowd, eyes sharp, voice cutting the room in half. "What the hell happened in here?" Briggs was moaning. Crow was clutching his useless arm. And Captain Mara Ellison was standing perfectly still, hands behind her back, expression blank. Hale looked from the injured men to her. "Captain Ellison?" She nodded. "Sir, you want to brief me on why 2 instructors are on the floor screaming?" Mara didn't raise her voice. "They assaulted me after ordering me to kneel. I responded within the limits of self-defense." A murmur rippled through the hall. Seals nodded subtly, confirming her words without speaking. A collective acknowledgement. A silent statement. "We saw it. She's telling the truth." Hale exhaled, slow, heavy, disappointed, but not at her. At the men groaning on the ground. Briggs. "Crow, you 2 want to explain." Briggs spat blood. "She attacked first. Negative," a dozen SEALs said in unison. Hale's jaw tightened. From the corner of the hall, Master Chief Arnold Vance, a legend among operators, stepped forward. He spoke only 8 words. Words that ended every argument. "I saw everything, Commander." She showed restraint. Hale nodded once. That was enough. He turned back to Mara, eyes steady. "Captain, thank you for not doing worse." She blinked, surprised. "Sir, you had every right." Later, inside the small conference room adjacent to the hall, Hale poured her a cup of water. "You okay?" "I'll bruise," she admitted. "But I'll live." He sat across from her. "Captain Ellison, off the record. This command has had problems. Complaints, reports, but evidence? None. Until tonight." Mara nodded slowly. "I'm not here to make enemies, sir. I know. That's why we trust your word." Footsteps approached. Master Chief Vance entered, pausing before sitting. "Captain," he said, "the men out there, they're talking about what you did. Not the fight, your composure." She raised an eyebrow. "Composure?" Vance nodded. "You didn't humiliate them. You neutralized them. Big difference. And every SEAL in the room saw it." Mara looked at both men. "I wasn't trying to make a spectacle." "You didn't," Vance said. "They did." Hale folded his hands. "There will be an investigation. You'll be cleared. And Briggs and Crow, they're done." Mara exhaled. Not relief, not pride, just acceptance. Tonight, it had simply been necessary. When she stepped out of the conference room, thinking she'd slip away quietly, she stopped dead in her tracks, because the hall was still full. SEALs stood waiting. Not one had left. The room fell silent as she walked in, and then, like a tide rolling back, The operators parted, forming a path straight through the center of the hall. Master Chief Vance stepped to her side and whispered, "They want to show respect." Mara swallowed. She walked forward, head high, posture straight, and as she passed each row, SEALs nodded. Not a salute, not a bow, just a silent gesture of respect from warriors who understood exactly what courage looked like. By the time she reached the exit, every man in the hall had acknowledged her. To silent affirmations. To confirmations that the truth mattered. To warriors who knew that strength isn't about intimidation, it's about integrity. She paused at the doors, turned back, and the hall, filled with some of the toughest men on the planet, stood silently, waiting for her final word. She didn't give them a speech, just 6 words: calm, steady, absolute. Stand for what's right, always. Then she walked into the night. The investigation was swift. The evidence was overwhelming. Briggs and Crow were removed from instruction, pending discharge for conduct unbecoming. They wouldn't haunt another class ever again. The command issued a formal apology to Captain Mara Ellison, and the story, what she did, how she held herself, became quiet legend across both Navy Special Warfare and the Marine Corps. Not because she fought, but because she fought only when she had to, and because she showed that real strength is often silent. Real courage is usually calm, and real leadership is doing what's right even when no one is watching, even when you get kicked down for it. Strength isn't proven by dominance. Courage isn't measured by noise. Real power is integrity, standing back up without becoming what tried to break you. In every uniform, in every service, in every generation, there will always be those who abuse authority, and there will always be those who rise to challenge them. Men and women like Captain Mara Ellison, the ones who remind us, justice doesn't need an audience, only a moment, and the courage to take it.